Okay. Yeah. All right.
All right. Sorry. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We at Left Wing Books are delighted to welcome best-selling author Chris Guillebeau and his highly praised new book, Time Anxiety. A couple notes before you begin. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight and supporting Left Wing Books. This event is only possible because of your support. So when you shop at Left Wing Books, your money stays right in our local economies. It helps to fund our parks, streets, and everything that makes St. Louis amazing. It also helps us support authors and set up events like this. We really appreciate you coming out. If you are here virtually, thank you so much for being here as well. You'll be able to participate in the Q&A at the end by leaving your question as YouTube comments. We'll keep an eye on that. And we appreciate you being here. Chris Guillebeau is the New York Times bestselling author of The $100 Startup, Side Hustle, and The Happiness Pursuit, which have sold over 1 million copies worldwide. His new book is Time Anxiety, The Illusion of Urgency and a Better Way to Live. In a world that is obsessed with squeezing the most out of every moment, the fear of falling behind can trap us in a paralyzing stress cycle. In his new book, Chris reveals that this pervasive sense of time scarcity stems not from a lack of hours in the day, but from unrealistic expectations and misaligned priorities. Ultimately, this is a call to wake up from the trance of busyness and to reclaim our most precious resource. Author Cal Newport calls Time Anxiety a wealth of insanely useful advice, from the practical to the psychological, for breaking free from time anxiety, slowing down, and living on purpose. So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Chris.
Hello, St. Louis. Wow. Everybody watching online, that's fun. A group here and a group there. So 15 years ago, I was a baby author and had my first book out, and I was working with kind of a small publisher. They didn't have a lot of resources, and I was like, oh, I got a book out, this is fun. So how does the book tour work? And they're like, oh, we don't really do that. Most authors aren't doing book tours anymore anyway. And they were like, you can come to New York if you want. And I was like, well, I love New York, but my people are like everywhere, right? And plus I was doing this thing where I was going to every country in the world. And so I was like, I should go to all 50 states, right? And meet my readers. And so I just put it out there and I was like, I'm going to do an unconventional book tour and I need your help, and lots of folks everywhere just kind of like pitched in, and I had a lot of fun and very different venues. Like in New Hampshire, I was at like Pilates studio, and then in San Francisco, I was at a heavy metal concert hall, which is kind of wild. In Anchorage, I was at a pizza parlor. In Minnesota, I was at a grocery store, which is about as much fun as you can imagine. Like I actually had a lot of people come out, which is cool, but then like, we're all in the center of the grocery store and other people are shopping, and they're a little bit annoyed. And then they keep making these announcements about like sales in the frozen food department. And I was like, wow, my life is so weird, at this point. But then I came to St. Louis 15 years ago, and Left Bank Books was kind enough to open their doors and welcome me. So this is my first time back in 15 years, and I'm so glad to be here. So thank you, Left Bank. And thank you, everybody here, for joining in. The best part of this experience, I've been doing this for a while. I've had like hundreds of meetups in different cities around the world. And something that I really believe is the best part of this time is not when I'm talking here to you, like one to many, but it really is everybody else who comes out. And so I'm just going to give a short talk, maybe like 20 minutes or so. We'll have a conversation, love to know what's on your mind. I'll sign some books and we'll just hang out. Really the best thing is everybody else who's here. So I also want to welcome Lisa Sansucci from Portland, Maine, and Robin from Chicago, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And Barb from here, right?
Yep.
And you guys just moved, Chad and Noah, from Chicago, or well, living in Chicago recently, but now living here, right? And he's actually in my book, which I just learned. So in the first book that I wrote, that book when I was a baby author. Yeah, maybe there's some fun stories with people who are watching online. Lisa, can I get you to hand everyone one of these, please? And there's some pens for the needs one. So my goal for tonight, this is my goal. I want to give you a new way to think about time. Like I want to give you something helpful. And for me, Like I'm very goal oriented, even though I have learned to slow down. So I'll talk about it a little bit. But I still like goals. And so this is my objective, like I want to give you something helpful and useful in your life. And so just as we're getting started, I'm curious if we could do a little activity. If you would just maybe think about your biggest worry about time. And if you'd be willing to write that down on a card, you don't have to write your name, it's gonna be totally anonymous. If you're watching on the live stream, you can just think about this, or if you want to put it in the chat, that's cool. Your biggest worry about time, it could be something big, it could be something small, doesn't really matter. It's like, it's your own worry. And then later I'll read a few of them out, but I won't identify anyone. So I'll just give you a couple of seconds to do that. And then Evan gave me a very nice introduction, and some of you I've known for quite a while, including Chad for 15 years, apparently, which is fun. But so here's just a quick introduction from me for those who are new. Let's see, I forgot what I put on the slide. Entrepreneur, I've always worked for myself. I've been writing books for a while now. I did have a project of going to every country in the world on my 35th birthday. Had a podcast that I've been doing every day for 3,000 days now, kind of compulsive. Right? I like to do things like just over and over. And then since last year, I've been writing a newsletter called The Year of Mental Health. The whole focus of everything I do, like the books and the events and different things, it's all about this mission or this message here about how you don't have to live your life the way other people expect. And throughout your life, you're going to meet all kinds of people, and some of them are well-meaning people. Some of them may even be your friends and family, but they have ideas for how you should live your life and what you should do, and how you should accommodate them and such. And that's fine. Like, they can have their ideas and their preferences, but you can also have your own ideas and goals and values, and you can kind of forge your own path. So I like to share different stories of people who are doing that in different ways. Now let's see. I said I was like entrepreneur. I've always worked for myself. That's probably because I'm unemployable. Like, I learned at an early age, I'm really not that great at working for other people. I like to work on things I'm excited about, but if I'm not excited, it's really hard. That's a core characteristic of ADHD, which I also have. I was diagnosed as a kid, and then again later as an adult. And then because I like to do a lot of stuff, I just threw this in as well. Like, decided to add some other projects. Sometimes I struggle with depression and anxiety. It's just kind of all in the mix, right? All these things kind of coexist. It's not just like, oh, this is this now, and this is this. It's like kind of just a coexistence. And so what brought me to this book here that we're talking about is, like, over the past couple of years, I've been like, okay, I'm doing lots of things, and I like to do lots of things. I'm not trying to just do less, but I'm also a little bit stressed out. Like, I'm doing lots of things, but I'm worried I'm kind of running out of time. Like, I'm worried that there's not enough time for the things that I want to do. And I'm also not even sure how to handle the time that I have. So it's like time is running out, while simultaneously, how do I plan or structure, or how do I choose what to do next? There's so many different things we could do, like at any point in time or life or in our day or in our week. And I found this really stressful and distressing. And I started talking with people about it, and I would just kind of say, like, oh, I'm working on this thing. It's called time anxiety. And almost everyone, like, out of 9 books so far, I think I've had a more universal concept that people are like, oh, I have that. Like, I don't know what time anxiety is. I've never heard that phrase, but that's me, right? Like, I very much identify with this. People would say, like, this affects my life all the time. Like, I never knew there was a name for it. It affects me every single day. Thought it was just me. Friends and I talk about this all the time, but again, without naming it. And some people will even say, like, this is the defining problem of my life. Like, this is what affects me just all the time. Like, maybe I'll go on and do other things, but there's this low-grade angst, where I'm always worried about time one way or another. And as I talked with people more, and I did like a research study with about 1,500 people, lots of surveys and data and such, I discovered that there were 2 types. So 2 primary types of time anxiety. And the first one is existential, which is kind of like time is running out. or I'm too late for something. I feel like I'm too late for something in my life. Maybe I missed my chance at some point. Maybe I wish I could go back and do something different, but it's too late. I'm lacking purpose. And the other one is daily, which is, what do I do right now? And how do I fit in everything that I'm supposed to do and also have time for myself? And does any of this connect to some kind of long-term purpose? So existential, day-to-day, and then there's an interaction between the two. It's important to say this is not just like an intellectual thing. This is a very physical, it's a very emotional experience. There are physical symptoms, like when you're stressed out about time, like your heart rate increases. You wake up in the middle of the night sometimes. Like I tell the story about waking up in the middle of the night with, I had a nightmare about an email. And I was like, okay, I know this sounds kind of silly, but I just remember, like, did I write this guy back or not? And then I'm thinking, like, oh, he probably thinks I'm a terrible person. He's thinking about this. I've let him down. I've let myself down. But now if I spend time writing him back, I'm probably letting somebody else down. It's just very stressing and distressing. And so when we have these experiences or when we feel stressed about time, what do? We either freeze and we just kind of withdraw. We don't do anything, or we try to get better at doing things. We try to optimize, and we try to learn new systems and new tips. And we're like, okay, I'm just gonna try to do more. And here's a new app that I'm gonna try, or here's a new journal. There's this new thing, and it's gonna help me, do 5% better. But of course, it's a little bit of a trap, because the better we get at doing things, the more things there are to do. And it's especially true with digital communication. The better we get at emailing or responding to texts or other messages or Instagram or any other social media, the better you get at it, there's always more. And we think, I'm overwhelmed, there's too much going on, what do I do? And then we add something else. So it's like, there's too much, and therefore I'm going to add something else. And obviously, more is the answer to too much. And so that's kind of what brought me to this process of okay, we need a different way, basically, to think about time. We can't manage time. There's this whole field of time management, and there's 20,000 books on Amazon about time management, and you can hire keynote speakers to talk about time management, and this is all an impossible thing. Time exists on its own. We go to sleep, time passes. We're doing something else, time passes. It just kind of continues. And if you could really manage time, if you could really have control over time, you would tell time to stop. And you would be like, I don't want time. The time, just slow down. Let me catch up. And then when I'm ready, the rest of the world can then come back. Right? So it's not something we can manage. We need a different way to think about time. So what's the reason that we are ultimately stressed about time? Why are we ultimately worried about time running out? It's this. Let's see if my clicker works. It does work. This is ultimately why we're stressed about time, because we feel like time is running out, because it is running out. And this is kind of the reality for all of us. But I noticed in the research for this, and also I had a previous book called The Happiness Pursuit about quests, people who do big things, really big, crazy things, they often have this different awareness of mortality. So there's two ways to think about mortality. And one way is this, everyone dies. And so that's true, but it's also a little bit distanced, it's a little bit depersonalized. And then the more emotional way to think about it is it's not just everybody, it's actually me, right? And so one of the things I write a lot about in this book is thinking about death can be difficult and stressful, or it can be purposeful. It can actually help us look back. Thinking about death can help us live better. And this is true whether you experience a big loss or not. Thinking about death can help us live better. So one thing it helps you with is once you start understanding, oh, okay, life really is short. We say that it's a little bit of a cliche, but it's actually true. My life is short. My life is limited. And it gives you this built-in excuse for anything you don't want to do, right? So for me, this is one of the worst things someone could ever say to me is can we jump on a call? I hate that. I hate phone calls. And so now I know I can just say like, no, thank you, I'm gonna die one day, right? Like, sorry, I can't do that, because my life's short, And so you might hear from people in your life who say something like this, like, you just drop everything that you're doing and solve this problem for me, right? And you say, well, I'd love to, but I only have a limited number of days to live, so I can't help you with that, When I was writing this book, my editor and I went back and forth about this language, because she was like, do you really want to tell people this? I'm like, yes, I do, and you don't have to use the words this way, right? You can adapt it to your own life. But the point is that thinking about death can help us to live better. So aside from that, you might be like, okay, that's great, Chris, but what do you have for me besides, wrong with that? So I do have a few things for you. I'll give you a few tips, and then I'm going to read some of your answers, and then we'll have a conversation about whatever you'd like to chat about. So a couple things you can do when you're feeling stressed about time or just life in general. I think one of the best things you can do is to give yourself the gift of time. And another cliche is like, time is our most precious resource. And like everybody has heard that, but we don't actually treat it like a non-renewable resource. Like every other resource, if you run out of money, you can get more money somehow, but time is limited, it's non-renewable. So wherever you can give yourself time, it's only going to help you. It's going to help you feel more relief. It's going to help you feel less anxious. So I like to do this thing where it's practice time decluttering. If you've heard of regular decluttering, it's like, oh, my house or my office or my workspace, it's kind of messy. I'm going to make sure everything has a purpose. And I think that's a good thing to do. But again, time is actually a more valuable resource. So with time decluttering, it's like, let me look at my life for the next 2 to 3 weeks. And is there anything I can identify? Can I see like 2 or 3 meetings or appointments or anything that I can just remove that I don't need to be at, right? And when you do that, you don't want to just put something there like in its place immediately. You just first like notice how this makes you feel. And for most people, it feels very relieving. You're like, well, I've just given myself that time. How can I fill that time with something else? Like, what is it that I want to do? What is important to me? Wherever you can give yourself the gift of time, it's very helpful. And also allowing more time for transitions. So allowing more time from like going one thing to another. Instead of trying to like cram in one more thing, just allowing more time for transitions makes a lot of things better. It's also very helpful to make time visible in your life, like to actively have clocks and timers in your workspace, in your office, in your kitchen. Maybe there's somewhere in your house you don't want time, but keeping up with time in your head is not good. Like, it's not a good use of your brain space. And most of us don't estimate time very well. So the more you can make time visible, it's going to help you. A little time travel test. So a lot of us agree to things in the future. If somebody asks us to do something that's like 3 months from now, even if we don't really want to do it, we tend to say yes. We're not sure about it. We're like, oh, it's a long time from now, so I'll just say yes. Or maybe then I'll want to do it, right? And then of course the time comes, you're like, I don't actually want to do this, but I said I was going to do it, so what do I do? So the trick is, whenever you're thinking about something that's far in advance, or somebody's like, hey, will you do this thing, in 3 months? Just ask yourself if you would want to do this if it was happening tomorrow. And if it was happening tomorrow, and you're like, yeah, I would want to do that, then that's great. But if you're like, I don't think I want to do that tomorrow, you're probably not going to want to do it in 3 months or whenever the time comes. So this is another way to give yourself the gift of time by just thinking about, is this something I want in my life now? So I like lists. I like to make lists. I mean, I have a lot, like I make my to-do list, I have all my project lists and things, but because I'm very future oriented, I have tried to practice some gratitude activities, like making a done list of like, here are the things that I have done, right? There's always more to be done. There's always more things, but what is actually completed? Like, what is actually accomplished? And so you can do this on like a day-to-day basis. You can do this for any project or any kind of work responsibility. You can also make a reverse bucket list, which is exactly like it sounds. It's like you've got your regular bucket list, which is like, oh, I want to do these things in my life one day. But your reverse bucket list is like, what have I done? Like, what have I accomplished or achieved or experienced? And most people, when they do this, they remember stuff that they've completely forgotten about. And they're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. A number of years ago, like I started this project, or I made this brave choice, or I took this trip, or whatever it was. It just kind of helps you celebrate what you've already done, both in the long term and the short term. in terms of how you manage your day-to-day and such, a lot of us, most of us these days, we don't work in factories. We don't work like in manufacturing the way people used to. We have some kind of knowledge work. And whether you're self-employed, you're working for someone else, company or organization, there's always more work. And so nobody's going to put limits on your work. No one's going to put constraints because there's always another thing you can do. And this is very stressful. So if you can decide for yourself at the beginning of any day or week or project, what is enough? Like once I do these things, then maybe I'm done. Maybe I'm done for the day. Maybe I'll just take a break. Maybe I'll move on to something else, but I'm going to just kind of pause there and just say that's enough, right? So it's kind of recognizing what is enough. This is the last one for now. At any point in your day, you can just kind of pause and say, how valuable were my last 40 minutes? So the last 40 minutes that I spent, was that valuable to me? Was it helpful? Was it productive? It doesn't have to be productive because value can mean a lot of things. But is that something that I feel was beneficial to me? And if your answer is yes, then that's great. If your answer is no, if you're like, we all have time, that goes by, and sometimes you're like, I don't know what happened with that time. That's okay. It's just a little kind of nudge for you to say, what can I do differently, for the next 40 minutes? I haven't lost a lot of time, it's just a short period of time. But what can I do to kind of turn things around? So how valuable were your last 40 minutes? So I'm very curious. Can I collect the cards? Lisa, can you collect those cards for me? I'm going to mix them up so I won't say who's who.
We get them back.
Yeah, you can collect them back at the end, sure. And I think Evan is somewhere managing like a little live stream process. So we'll see. I forgot to say in the beginning that the book is very new. It's been out a couple weeks. This is my third conversation about the book. Okay, cool. Great. As I was saying, we're all going to die, but not tonight, all right? So it's really interesting to kind of co-create this experience here together. And I like hearing what different people have to say. So let's see. My biggest worry about time is that I'm spending more time worrying than living. Oh, I forgot to mention also, if you hear a statement and you identify with the statement or you like it, maybe we could do like a little snap. It's a very popular one, right out of the gate. There's not enough time in the day to get things done in a relaxed way. Don't get to spend enough time with my kids. Or maybe people who are employees. How do you feel about that, Noah? Was that yours? I will be too distracted to get anything done. And I cannot get everything I want to get done in a day. Someone at, I think it was Houston last week, someone said, I'm in a long-term relationship with procrastination.
Yeah.
And I think someone else said, my time management strategy is panic. So I'm just going to give you one more tip or suggestion, and all of these come from my own experience of being, very stressed out in different ways, and then not just my own experience, but it's long research with lots of people from different backgrounds and ages, all over the world. I think something that we don't do often or well, or at least a lot of us, including me, is this. And the more that we can actually pay attention, then the better that we will feel. And paying attention is something that's available to us at any point, like it's available right now, it's available tonight, tomorrow. The more you can actually notice, like, how do I spend my time? And what do I want more of in my life? What do I want less of? What is unresolved in my life right now? If you just kind of think about that without doing anything else, like most likely you're going to make some different decisions. And most likely it's just going to help you. And so there's always time to pay attention. And for me, like when I started writing the book, it's like 2 years ago, kind of came to it from a place of just feeling really discouraged and really like, oh, I love doing all this stuff. I feel very, very grateful. But I also feel like, you know, there's not enough time where I don't know what to do and all of that. What's it all for and so on. So I came to it out of this place of feeling discouraged, but I left it feeling more hopeful. And that's really my hope for all of you, for anybody who's watching tonight. And I kind of came to it out of this place of like, oh, there's not enough time. And I kind of came to realize, well, it's true that the time is limited, right? But if you are here, right, then there is still time. Like if you are here tonight in St. Louis, you know, like if you are like able to experience life, then there's still time to make a change. There's still time to do something new. There's still time to pursue a dream or a big goal, you know, or whatever it is that you want to do. And so if you're here tonight, there's still time. Thank you. Thank you, Becky. It's so fun. I love this group. And anybody who's, it feels kind of fun to like talk to two different people. It's okay. It's like huge on YouTube right now. Evan, how are you doing? Good. Thanks for hanging out. So yeah, so let's just have a little chat. If you have a comment or a question, maybe raise your hand and I'll just kind of repeat it in case there's people watching. And then if Evan has anybody sharing online, just let me know. Robin.
So I have a comment. I just want to share like the two things that really resonated with me in your book that I had never thought about before. When you talked about that there's the green days, there's the yellow days, and there's the red days. And if you try to push through on a red day, then it's just not good at all. And I have done that so many times where I should have just relaxed that day and just done some things that I enjoyed and not pushed through, because I have so many green days that I can fit, you know, kind of all the things I want to do in those days. And I also loved when you said that to measure how you're doing over a longer period of time, because I think one of the things that I was just guilty of is looking at the day and I'm just like, oh my God, I didn't do anything. But then over the whole month, you're just like, look how much I accomplished, you know? And if you can look at a longer or a longer duration, then it helps, you know, you to feel better about what you're doing. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's fun. So Robin was talking about this concept of like hyper focus. I think it's in the book about how sometimes we feel like we can do so much and that's great. And then other times it's really, really difficult. And so you have to kind of learn like the traffic light system you referred to. And so if you're having like this red day, then it's really gonna be very difficult to push through. When you try to push through, so like, well, yesterday I was crushing it, you know, but it's only gonna just make you more tired. But by resting, then you're able to get back to that phase. And there's some specific recommendations about that. So thank you.
What makes it a red day or a green day or a yellow day? Is it external things that are making it that color?
It's your energy.
Oh.
It is your energy, and it's your level of cognitive attention. And so we all have like a limited ability of cognitive focus. It's actually a lot less than most people think. It's usually like 2 to 3 hours a day that we are able to like cognitively focus on something. And so this is difficult because most of us have like work commitments that go beyond 2 to 3 hours a day. And there's other work that we can do. Like it's not that we can't do other things, but that level of focus is really quite limited. And so a big thing you can do is kind of figure out, okay, where is my cognitive attention? Like what time of day does it tend to occur? And how can I protect that as much as possible and use that time as effectively as I can? And then rest or do other things.
Any other questions or comments?
Are you a relationship counselor as well?
I'm not.
Okay, I'll ask anyway.
Sure.
So what happens?
Maybe
when
someone else can.
you're-
Go
Yeah,
on.
in a situation, and you can probably agree with me, where some people in our family are extreme executive functioners.
Okay.
Yes, Mom. And actually, we recognized today, I think she recognized it the first time she interrupted Perplexity. She interrupted Perplexity, which was giving a very fast rundown of what she needed. She interrupted it, so it'll go faster. And it's like,
Wow. She interrupts the AI tool
Yes,
to tell the AI tool to go faster.
yes.
She's,
Or she interrupted and asked it a question.
is she
because it
an
wasn't-
AI herself?
No,
Sorry.
she could be. I mean, she's incredibly effective. But in dealing and understanding people who are time challenged,
Mhm.
and it might take, because of perfectionism, really, like, might take me 20 minutes to write an email
Mhm.
versus she might take 30 seconds, and they both are not great because one
Mhm.
doesn't have enough detail and one has a novel's worth.
Right, right. So that's an interesting situation. And so the question is, like, what did?
I mean, I guess there is such a question,
Right.
more of sharing of a dynamic, and
Sure.
if there's any tips from
Sure,
people
sure.
who, how do you get one person to speed up and one person to slow down?
Okay. I mean, it's interesting to have the observation, first of all, like to just know it, and to maybe for her to understand, oh, okay, this is how a neurodivergent brain works. It is different from a neurotypical brain. I assume you're pretty good at some things that she's not good at, perhaps, right? So some of it is like strengths maximization and just understanding each other. I think that's a big part of it. Anybody else have a comment about that? Yeah, please do.
I was gonna say more about how what it said about keeping time visible.
Mhm.
I also feel like being able to communicate. For me, I have like severe time blindness. No matter how much I try to be early, I'm always like a few minutes late on every bit. And so I'm like trying to communicate with people in my life, like, if you can from now on, maybe like tell me that we're leaving 10 minutes earlier than we are, or like someone's like, oh yeah, don't worry, you have plenty of time. And then I start like slowing down what I'm doing, and then I'm late. So it's like if I'm in a mode of getting things done, it's like don't tell me I have plenty of time, because then I will slow down and be late again. So it's like just being able to sort of communicate what you need time wise, and be like, sometimes it does take me 30 minutes to write an email, and
Right.
I don't know that anyone needs to speed up or slow down. Just be able to communicate that that's how much time you typically take.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Plenty of time is also very vague.
Yeah.
So maybe the specificity is more helpful.
Yeah. You get 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Plenty of time.
is
I'm
better.
like, plenty of time. I'm just go do 10 other things.
And if we've got smartwatches, we can't set them 10 minutes ahead. Like
Right. Everything is synced now. That's right. Yes, please.
Another thing that resonated with me, I feel like the whole book resonated with me, but this is another concept that I never thought about, is having transition time, or doing something like letting yourself relax and, kind of get into your next activity, instead of like, I do block time, but the blocks would be like so close to each other that there's not any time to really feel into the next project. It's just like, so
Yeah. So what was the reason that you used to do that? Like, why did you stack things so close? Because
I had to get, like, that's another thing. It's like I have a long to-do list, and in my mind, I'm going to get every single one of these things done today. And it kind of connects with a question that I had for you, because obviously you've been working on this 2 years ago, and I cannot see myself thinking 2 years ahead and like, okay, let's pace this out for 2 years. Like everything is like this week, which is, so it's impressive that you started this 2 years ago, and then now it's come to fruition. How do you stay motivated? So I'm sorry, I kind of skipped over my
That's okay. That's good. Thank you for saying that. I think about the first thing about the transition. I think a lot of people, they fear like they feel like they're giving something up by allowing more time for transitions or being early. They're like, oh, but I'm going to lose this. Well, I won't be able to do that one more thing, But the thing is, if you kind of go through life being like 10 to 15 minutes late to everything, like a lot of people are, it actually feels really stressful. Like most people who are chronically late, they don't want to be late all the time. So it's bothering them. And they know it's affecting their relationships, and they're like always like it causes them a lot of stress. So they're probably not going to start being really early. If they add 10 to 15 minutes, they're going to be on time, right? And then they're going to actually just feel better. Now, as to the second thing, well, it took 2 years. It should have taken like 1 year. Actually, I wrote this book like 4 or 5 different times, and I would prefer to write like 2 to 3 drafts of something, but I really wasn't happy with the second or the third draft, and so I just had to keep writing it. So I would actually prefer it not take as much time as it did. But there's this other thing in the book called The Eighth Day of the Week, which is this idea of like just imagine that you have an extra day every week.
You know.
So it's not your like one ideal perfect day. That feels kind of like a lot of pressure. But it's like, what if I had like one extra day every week? What could I do? And on this day, nobody is bothering you. Nobody's expecting things from you. This is your day. How would you spend that day? It's really interesting. When I started asking people that question, like 40% of people would say like I would catch up on my email. It's kind of depressing, right? It's like I get this whole extra day, and like the one thing I would do is catch up, you know. And so I took that off the list. I mean, you can't do that. Like it has to be something else. So the reason I mentioned that is because you said about the longer time horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Like with a longer time horizon, you can write a book. You know, you can learn a language. You can start a business. You can do like all these things if you allow for a longer time horizon. Weren't you saying before that you have a blog now and you
Yes.
have written like what 9 articles or something?
Yeah.
Like that? Okay.
Yes.
Relationshipblackbook.com.
Yes. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Check it out, everybody on the stream. Check it out. It's great.
And I guess I have another question. What is your writing process? You know, for writing a book, do you write like 2 hours a day or?
So it kind of depends, but when I'm in like a book writing phase, I try to write 1,000 words a day.
Okay.
And it just depends how long that takes. But if you know, the average, I think this book is like 55,000 words. As I said, I wrote it several times and there's like edits and such. But if you just think about that process, like, okay, well, if I can write 1,000 words a day, even if I allow for breaks and like structuring and, you know, editing, I can write a book in a year, right? So you're going to write a book?
I'm not sure. Maybe so.
I hope
I would
so.
like to. But I love what you said about, the second and a third draft. And I think when you have that perfectionism, you never think about, kind of, oh, I can do this over again, or I can look at it again. You're thinking, okay, this first one has to be perfect. So
Yeah, well, it's not going to be.
thanks for sharing.
Of course. Well, I'm not going anywhere. I want to hang out some, but I want to also be respectful of your time. So that's what it's about. Does anybody have any like one more question or final comments or anything? And welcome, by the way. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Anything from you, Evan?
Yeah, get some books signed if anyone does want to continue the conversation. We can do that as well. So
Thank you
thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thanks for coming from Chicago. Anybody else? Hey, no, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, that's fun.